Gender-based violence, or GBV, is one of the most urgent and deeply rooted societal problems we face. At its core, GBV encompasses any harmful act directed at a person based on their gender or gender identity. This can take many forms: physical violence, like hitting or choking, sexual violence that includes rape and harassment, emotional abuse, which involves humiliation or manipulation, and even economic violence, where someone's access to money or resources is controlled or denied. One harrowing example is marital rape, where intimate relationships are used to perpetuate violence, or forced marriages, which occur without true consent. Now, in crisis settings, let's think about refugee camps, natural disaster zones, or areas grappling with armed conflicts. The problem doesn't just exist, it explodes. The social fabric in these environments often tears apart. When there's displacement, when normal law enforcement is absent or stretched thin, the vulnerabilities become glaring. Imagine being forced from your home, stripped of all familiarity and support, only to face an increased risk of violence in a place meant to be safe. Women and girls bear the brunt of this crisis-driven violence, but let's not forget others, individuals with disabilities, members of the LGBTI+ community. They all face heightened risks. For example, survivors from rural areas may struggle even more. In rural Texas, as one report highlighted, access to services can be limited, and fears around confidentiality can force survivors into silence. Crisis zones only compound these vulnerabilities. The breakdowns in order and control create environments where abuse thrives unchecked. These are not faceless statistics. They're individuals carrying the weight of violence and its consequences. Whether it's a girl in a refugee camp, a woman navigating disaster fallout, or someone in a forgotten rural area, all are examples of how GBV is magnified in crisis settings. When we discuss gender-based violence, or GBV, it's crucial to remember that behind every statistic lies a story, a person navigating the devastating aftermath of trauma. The physical consequences alone are life-altering. Many survivors face reproductive health complications, sexually transmitted infections, or even injuries so severe they lead to long-term disability. And then there's the part we can't see: psychological scars like depression, anxiety, or PTSD that can linger for years. These are not isolated impacts. They ripple outwards, affecting families and entire communities. Take, for example, the stories of survivors in rural Texas. Violence there often goes unreported. Limited resources and healthcare options leave women traveling hours just to seek medical care or counseling, often at great financial cost. Many choose not to seek help at all for fear of being recognized, because in tight-knit communities, privacy is almost impossible to guarantee. This lack of anonymity, paired with deeply ingrained societal stigmas, isolates survivors even further. And while I wish I could say this is unique to one area, it echoes globally. In Trinidad, for instance, systemic issues run just as deep. Domestic violence is entrenched, with cultural norms and historical inequalities compounding the problem. Men and women alike suffer in silence due to fear, stigma, and societal reluctance to confront these realities head-on. A survivor there shared how speaking out feels impossible, as though the community itself questions your worth the moment you do. These fears, this silence, contribute to making GBV the hidden crime it so often becomes. But enough of silence. There's value, immeasurable value, in breaking it. I'm reminded of a story from Barstow, California, about a domestic violence advocate who found her calling in such work. She spoke with a passion that resonated deeply, not just about the pain but the transformative power of awareness, of collective effort. She challenged her community to confront those hard realities and in doing so, created a space for survivors to find their voice. Now let's explore what change looks like, a way forward not just for survivors but for all of us. When we talk about preventing gender-based violence, organizations like UNICEF and UNFPA are leading the charge. Through their community initiatives, they aim to chip away at harmful gender norms by promoting education and engagement at every level. These programs are kind of, a blueprint for hope, combining awareness campaigns with tools that empower communities to confront violence before it begins. Advocacy also plays a critical role. From grassroots efforts that involve local leaders to global frameworks like the United States Strategy to Address GBV internationally, these coordinated actions bring visibility to a problem that thrives in silence. Technology is an exciting and I'd say transformative part of this shift. Simple innovations like reporting apps have given survivors a discreet and powerful way to access support. It's a reminder that, progress often depends on how creative and collaborative we're prepared to be. But most importantly, this is about resilience, about acknowledging the incredible strength it takes to speak out, to recover, to thrive in the face of unimaginable pain. Survivors are often compared to a roaring fire, and I think that's perfect. They carry this incredible intensity, this drive to push forward. And as we stand together, it's as though that fire spreads, lighting corners of our societies that we thought were unreachable, urging us all to take action. Gender-based violence is not inevitable, and it's not immovable. It's something we can change. If we remember that responsibility belongs to all of us, in the choices we make, the attitudes we challenge, and the support systems we build. And with that in mind, I want to say thank you for joining me today. Let's continue this conversation in our homes, our communities, and in every space where silence once lived. Until next time, take care and let's keep moving forward.